Welcome to ADP Vantage Time and Attendance Training for GateHouse Media employees. This training is for managers with direct reports. In addition, managers should also attend the employee time training. Once you log into ADP Vantage, you will see the home screen with Home, Myself, and My Team. All managers with direct reports will have that extra menu item, My Team. Managers will need to access the system to edit the time cards of their employees, approve the time cards of their employees, and approve requests of their employees for time off. Employees that are hourly have to timestamp and are paid off the hours on their time card. So it's important that the manager reviews the time card for accuracy. Salary employees do not have to enter time on a daily basis. Their time automatically populates based on the time in their schedule. So it's important that the manager verifies that the hours on the employee's time card are accurate. One of the important roles for the manager is to go to Daily Tasks. That is located under My Team, Time and Attendance, and Daily Tasks. Once the daily tasks load, you will see on the first chevron that is across the top of the daily tasks, Reconcile time cards. As a manager, you should change the All Home to your Hyperfine. Your Hyperfine is listed under this drop-down menu and is by last name and first initial. If your last name is very popular, your first name might be spelled out. Once you locate your Hyperfine, you can click on it. Sometimes it's easier to get to your Hyperfine by typing in the first 3 letters of your last name. Once you type in your Hyperfine, all the employees that report to you directly will show on this view. So as you can see, Minnie Mouse reports to me. I'm also on the previous pay period. I can change to different views, such as the current pay period, by selecting the drop-down menu and selecting that current pay period, or clicking on the calendar icon and selecting the start date and the end date and clicking apply. On the reconciled time card, you could select all rows if you have more than one employee that you would like to view. You can also approve all your time cards of your employees by clicking this approve button. So if I wanted to approve my employee's time card without viewing anything, I could just click on her and click approval and approve time card. But it's best to use the daily task wizard to review any issues with time cards. So I'm going to go to the next chevron by clicking next. This chevron is not extremely useful. Basically, it will highlight some of the issues with the employee's time cards, such as a missed punch or any other issues with breaks and such. As you can see, as I hover over the columns, a detail button appears. By clicking the detail button, any employee that has any issues with the column that you clicked on, time card will show in this view. You can make edits from here, but it's usually more helpful to go to the time cards directly. So if I wanted to edit Minnie Mouse, as I can see, she has this big red box. As a manager, you need to make corrections to these missed punches. That's very important. If you do not correct this, your employee will be overpaid or paid incorrectly. So after consulting with my employee, I find out that Minnie Mouse left at 3 p.m. I can enter that right onto her time card by typing in 3 p.m. and then clicking save. Once I hit save, the error is removed. The most important part of this daily wizard is on the next chevron. This is the only area within Vantage that you can approve your employee's request for time off. Employees who are requesting time off only need to do this if they're requesting a day off with pay. As you can see, there's a drop-down menu over here with different pay periods. and a calendar icon here. The calendar icon is the most useful. If your employee requests a day off, an email will be sent to you with the actual days that the employee requested off. Once you know which days they selected, you can put in that pay period. For instance, I received an email that Minnie Mouse took some days off or requested days off in October. So I'm changing the start date to October 1st and the end date to October 31st and clicking OK. As you can now see, Minnie Mouse's time for request for time off has populated on this screen. Over in the next drop-down, you see that one employee is selected. And then you also see these other buttons. These are action buttons. Since I've picked a time period where there's some sort of request for time off. As a manager, I'm going to want to review this request for time off and see if I want to approve it or refuse it. By double-clicking on the employee's request, I can see more details around the employee's request for time off. It indicates the start date, the end date, and if there's any kind of note that the employee may have submitted. If this looks good to me, I can click approve. I can also click refuse if this does not look like something I want to approve. If I decided I didn't want to approve this, I could enter a comment by clicking time off request and typing in the note sections why, and then clicking refuse, and then OK. But I'm going to show you how to approve one. So by clicking approve, again, the employee's request populates on my screen with all the details, the start and end date most importantly, the amount of hours. I want to verify that's the correct amount of hours. So if they're taking a full day, I want to make sure it says 8 or the daily hours. I want to be very, very careful that it's not more than the workday. Many employees mistakenly put in the amount of hours over a range of time. For instance, this employee is submitting a request for time off for 2 days. Many people err and put in 16 hours rather than 8 hours. So as a manager, please review the time off request. Once it's okay, click approve. As you can see, there is no more requests in that time range. So where did that request go? If I go over to the drop-down arrow and click all statuses, which is one of the options on this menu, and then I click the arrows for refresh to the right, any kind of time off requests, any actions that may have been taken are indicated. So anything that occurred in the range that I selected, which is October 1st to October 31st, are going to be shown. So I can see anything that happened. As you can see, there's some canceled vacation time, there's some retracted vacation time, and there's some approved. Please make sure that you do not use the retract button for anyone's request for time off. It causes a lot of errors, and we will have to actually step in and make a correction. So if this occurs, please send an email to vantageadmin@GateHouse Media, and we will take care of any kind of issues that you are having with a person's request for time off. Once I'm done looking at my request for time off, I can click done and then clicking OK. If I receive another request for time off from another employee, again, this is the only way you can access requests for time off. So I have to go to My Team, Time and Attendance, Daily Tasks, and go back to the screen. And if I've already reviewed time cards and such, I can just go to the Manage Employee Requests tab. Again, I'm trying to find my hyperfind, typing in the first 3 letters of my last name, finding my hyperfind, and I just can click along instead of reviewing time cards. Again, using the daily tasks is very important to just review time cards on at least a daily or a couple days a week. So once it comes to time card deadline approvals, you're not doing everyone's time card at the same time. It can be a daunting task if you have a lot of direct reports. A question often asked by managers is, what do I do if I am out of town and somebody needs their time off approved? Your managers can also access the reports of your manager. So they will be able to access it by using your Hyperfine. The next thing I would like to show you is time card approval. That action is under My Team, Time and Attendance, Time Card Approval. Once you're on the time card approval page, you'll see that there's chevrons across the top. The first one is a Select Pay Period chevron. This is where you could change the Hyperfine to just your team. So again, by typing in the first 3 letters of my last name, or in this case, just the first letter, and finding my name, my team, on the list, and then changing the time period according to what I need to look at. I'll stay on current pay period, and clicking Save, that sets what I'm going to be looking at in the other chevrons. I'm going to click Next to get to the next chevron, Review Punch Exceptions. As you can see, the current pay period is highlighted at the top next to my Hyperfine name. So you have an opportunity to change to a different pay period if you would like to, or use the calendar icon to select certain dates. Since I'm in a time card approval section, I want to make sure that I am in the time period, the pay period that I need to be in to approve time cards. This is very important. The time card approval deadline at this time is at noon on Monday, Eastern Standard Time. If you're approving time cards the Friday before, if it's Friday, you should be on the current pay period. But if it's Monday and you're approving time cards for the previous pay period, please make sure that you change it to the previous pay period. On this screen, again, it will highlight any kind of missed punches or breaks. And again, by hovering over the different columns, you can get details on any kind of errors you see. By clicking the next button, I get 2 time cards. So if I had more than one report, I could go through each one of my employees by clicking these arrows to the right of the name of the employee. I also could use this drop-down arrow where the employee's name is, and there would be a list of all my employees underneath it, all my direct employees, because I'm on my Hyperfine right now. I can also enter their name if I needed to. So if I'm on the employee I want to look at, I can review their time card and make sure it's okay. And then I could keep going through each employee and make any kind of edits on their time card that I need to. So if this employee, let's just go to the current pay period to look at her punches. If I need to make some edit here, I could do that. I'm the manager, so I can enter any kind of changes onto the time card. So for instance, if this employee was out sick on Monday, I could click this X to the far left of my date, and it would delete all the hours that were populated for that day. I could then enter a pay code in this column from the list. I can expand this column to see the pay code easier, or I could just start typing in a pay code, such as vacation. Once I get vacation, I can go to the amounts column. As you can see, I'm moving these columns around and enter the hours associated with that day. And then make sure any edits that you make, you click Save up at the top right. Once you hit that blue Save, it turns gray. You know that the edits have been saved. If there are any adjustments to hours that you need to make, as a manager, you can make those edits. For instance, on Friday, I'm going to put in a meal break of 12 to 12:30 p.m. and then the employee left at 5 p.m. And then as you can see, the Save button is now blue. Click that and it turns gray. You can also view the hours in the drawer. So you can see all the hours and the pay codes associated with it. You can also change it to a daily view to see how many hours the employee worked on a certain day and the pay codes associated with it. You can view your employees' accruals at the bottom of the time card. You can move the drawer to show more contents by just clicking it and moving it up. So you can see your employees' accruals, the balance they have, the ending balance for the year, and how many accruals they've taken for the year to date. You also can see who made edits to the employee's time card by clicking the Audits tab. And again, you can hover over any of these cells to see the details, or you can move the cells. Once you're happy with that time card, you can approve the time card right on this view by clicking Approve Time Card and clicking Approve Time Card here. Usually when you go to approve the time card, it's already blue because your employee has approved it. As a manager, when I click Approve Time Card, it also will turn blue. If the time card was gray, that means payroll already signed off on it. If you have not approved an employee's time card and it's turned gray, it's very important that you consult payroll, because the employee might not get paid because you did not approve the time card. All managers must approve time cards. You also can see that there is a icon Go To at the top right of your employee's time card. This gives you an opportunity to run any kind of report you might want to. You can run a report on your employees' accruals by clicking Reports, and then Accruals, Accrual Detail, and then you can select the time period. Typically, I put in January 1st to December 31st, and then click Run Report. You can allow that report to keep running and click the refresh status until the report has a response status of complete. Once you see complete, you can double click on the accruals report and view your employee's report. It is very important you do not share this report with employees. This is only for managers, but it will give you a great view on your employees' accruals, showing what they accrue each pay period, how much they've accrued to date, what days they've taken off, what days they have scheduled, future dates, and gives a balance on what they have for the year. Keep in mind that employees can request time off up to their annual allowance for their accruals. They don't have to wait until they have the full allowance. They can actually go into the negative if they need to. That's for the annual allowance. So I'm going to go to the next chevron by clicking Next. This screen is very important. I highly recommend that every pay period that you're approving, that you go to this chevron and verify that you've approved the time card. So again, make sure you're in the right pay period. So if you're approving the current pay period because you're on the Friday of that pay period that needs to be approved, you be in current, and then you would check to make sure your employee approved it. So there would be a check mark here if the employee approved it. And under manager, there's a number, either 1, because there's one manager that approved the time card, which is typically what everyone sees, or 2, if 2 managers ended up approving the time card. But this chart is a great verification that you've approved all your employees' time cards. All of them will be listed on this chart. And again, focus on the manager approval column and making sure there is a number in that column. Again, if you're approving the time cards on the Monday of the pay period that has closed, following the pay period that's closed, make sure you go to the previous pay period, the pay period that you're approving, and verify that you have a number under manager approval. If you don't, you can highlight your employees from here. Once you're satisfied with their time cards, you can select all and click Approve Time Cards. And that right there will approve all your employees that you highlighted on this page time card. So you'll get the message, are you sure you want to approve? Yes. Then you can click Refresh, and there's the one under Manager Approval. Then to move to the next chevron, group edit results for approval. This lets you know the status of your approvals. So it'll show you when you did it, time, and most importantly, the status, that it's complete. Results, success. If this was not successful, you would have a link and you could click on it and you can correct what the errors were. Another important thing I'd like to show you is under My Team, Time and Attendance, Quick Find. This is a very helpful link. This is very useful when you have hourly employees that may have missed a punch or let you know that they received an error when they time stamped for the day. You can just look somebody up, just an individual up, using this method. So in the search bar, you could either enter the employee's name, enter their employee ID, or if you only have a partial name, you can put in asterisks or wildcards around them to do a search, or just leave the wildcarded in there and all the employees that report to you in some respect will show. So I'm finding my employee, and in this case, I'm going to choose Test Employee. And from here, I can make edits to this employee's time card. So if this employee came to me and said, as you can see from this view, they're an hourly employee. They came to me and said, I forgot to punch Monday. I could enter their time right into their time card. So again, the in would be their in punch for the day. Their out is their unpaid meal break. And then they're out for the day. And then I would click Save. Again, I can remove, if I didn't like what I put in there, I could just click this X to the far left and it will remove it, and I can click Save. I can also add lines. So if I had an employee that worked 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then they were sick, I'm going to click Save. I could enter in the 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then I'm going to have to add an extra line by clicking the plus button. So clicking plus adds that extra line, and then I can, as a manager, enter our pay code for sick. So one thing to keep in mind is your employees cannot enter pay codes into their time card. So if you have an honor employee, somebody that can enter their in and out times directly onto the time card, they will not be able to enter any pay codes, such as sick, bereavement, jury duty, or anything like that. So once you make the edits to the time card, you can hit calculate if you want to make sure that you're doing it right. And as you can see, I received an error, and that's because this employee doesn't have enough sick time. So again, I can remove it by clicking the X and then Save. And the drawer will give me information once again as I want to look at. And this is the easiest way, again, if you're doing a quick edit to somebody's time card. Now, if this employee was out for the rest of the week and you need to approve the time card, you can also do it right here. So as you can see, the Approve Time Card icon is right there. You click on it, Approve Time Card. You can do it right there, and it turns blue as a manager. And the employee decides that they're going to work. They decided to change their mind. They're going to come in Friday. You're going to need to remove that time card approval. If the time card is approved, the employee is not going to be able to timestamp in and out for the day. You will have to remove it. For salary employees that might report to you, their time card will look different, as you saw in the employee training. For those salary employees, most of the time you're just approving their time off and making sure that it populated in their time card correctly. For instance, if you have a salary employee who took a vacation week, you want to look at that time card and make sure that the vacation time populated into the time card. Once you're satisfied with that, it's all populated in there, you can approve the time card. Salary employees also can be approved earlier in the pay period if you're comfortable with their hours for the week. That is, if you know that your employee is going to be there for the full week, if you are a manager and you're not going to be in town and you want to get ahead of your approvals, you could actually approve the time card ahead of time. So you would do the same thing. It doesn't matter what day, just make sure you're on the right pay period and you make sure it's either previous or current. only the person who approved the time card can remove that approval. So if you're a manager and you approve the time card and then you are out of town and the employee needs to make edits to the time card, or another manager needs to make edits to the time card, you as the one who approved the time card needs to remove the approval. I thank everyone for their time today on the manager training. Again, if there's any questions or anything comes up that you're unsure of or have any issues with the system, please send an email to vantageadmin@GateHouse Media and we will respond to your questions. Thank you.